Thank you.
Those of you that know me know invariably I start my speeches at these events by saying that I am not a politician, albeit that I've spent 45 years of my life being advised by the great and the good to become one. So if there are any more resignations, then hope springs eternal. I might reconsider. In the 19th century, I think it was Joseph Chamberlain actually, that said we are living in most interesting times. And how true those words ring today. I, in my life, have never seen the British people so politically engaged, and each day has brought them new anxieties. This referendum has given us the very best in democracy and the very worst examples of intolerance, bully boy tactics, blatant propaganda, some of which would make even Joseph Goebbels blush. But to me, the true heroes of this recent referendum were not the political grandees pontificating and preening themselves on our television screens. The true heroes were the millions of decent working class people, particularly here in the north of England, who defied their Labour leaders and voted for the survival of their country with their heads and their hearts. And God bless them for that. Yeah. The political geography of this country is finally changing. That old two-party system between the Conservatives and the Labour Party, where each one takes it in turn to get a first-class or a second-class ticket to the gravy train, is finally over. And I call out to all of those Labour supporters who have been so utterly betrayed and ignored by the party and by the ruling elite in general. I say this to them: there is a new home for you here in UKIP. And we need to mark out a very clear mandate and a very clear manifesto that will ensure their future trust in us. And we must never betray that trust. UKIP's front door is open, the kettle's on and the fire is lit. We have so much to be proud of in this country. We spend far too much time these days feeling guilt and feeling self-deprecation all the time. We are indeed a most remarkable little group of islands. And on June the 24th, we awoke to the revived new hope and a new dream. Our geographic isolation has so often before saved us from the follies of Europe, and our illustrious history has so often before saved Europe from itself. Our forebears fought and died in the creation of this precious democratic constitutional monarchy that we call our own. It's a political system that's not totally perfect, but it's near as damn it, and it is the political envy of the world. Because in our democratic constitutional monarchy, the state exists to serve the people. In a federal European Union, the people exist to serve the state. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an unacceptable effrontery that strikes at the very marrow of our British bones. The signing of the Lisbon Treaty reduced Her Majesty the Queen to being a figurehead citizen of Europe. But like us, she awoke sure in the knowledge that she will now remain as our constitutional monarch. Her courts can now eventually return to being the ultimate right to justice of habeas corpus and Magna Carta. Her ministers will be answerable to the people of her realm and no other. Her armed forces will never be a subservient branch of a European federal unionist's dream, and her people will be able to travel and trade with whomsoever they wish, knowing that her embassies around the world will continue to offer them protection. To our incoming Madam Prime Minister, I say this: you have three immediate tasks at hand. Firstly, to invoke Article 50 without any further delay.
Correct.
Be warned, Madam Prime Minister, we will not tolerate being deceived again, nor will we stand idly by and watch the corruption of democracy through any fancy political footwork or the actions of any slick parasite lawyers. Secondly, to repeal the 1972 European Communities Act, restoring all judicial powers to our own courts and the sovereign rights to our own parliament. And thirdly, the introduction of that long overdue and much promised British Bill of Rights. We must never again allow the likes of Abu Hamza to hold us to ransom and hide behind the shield of that abominable European Human Rights Act. Britain's exit from the European Union will be that much-needed antibiotic to a sick and dying patient. And when others have the courage to follow us, it will force Europe to reassess, to reform, and then to regroup. Only this time as a healthy beacon of unity and true democracy. But it needs the medicine before the cure. And then let it do justice to Churchill's dream of a United States of Europe. Individual sovereign states gloriously diverse in culture and recognition, and bonded together by trade and friendship, and protected under the umbrella of an expanded NATO. Europe must be wrenched from the grip of those who wish to fulfill Monnet's dream of a single federal European superstate. And if you've forgotten what that dream was, allow me to quote it verbatim. Europe's nations should be guided towards a superstate without the people understanding what is happening. This can be accomplished by successive steps, each disguised as having an economic purpose, but which will eventually and irreversibly lead to a federation. There has never been any deviation from Monnet's vision. It is still firmly on track. Why would a Europe in chaos and financial meltdown have the best interests of its existing people by continuing to insist on admitting Albania, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, Turkey, and possibly even Scotland, who now wants to sell its soul to the all-consuming, all-controlling EU devil. The euro currency cannot possibly sustain the inclusion of those countries, and everybody knows it. Mrs. Merkel has a major problem on her hands with Brexit, because in order to simply maintain the status quo, Germany will have to pick up the bill for our net EU contribution. And couple that with her disastrous open door policy, and she faces a full-blown civil revolution in Germany. Because the German people are fed up to the back teeth with it. Not the politicians, but the German people. Civil disobedience is already endemic throughout Europe at the moment, because the truth is being deliberately suppressed and distorted by the media. The rise of seriously right-wing politics in Europe is deeply concerning, but it is understandably born out of the EU's deliberate policy to destroy national identity and to homogenize everyone into Maoist-style one-suit-fits-all continent. 30 years from now, we might be seeing the entire population of Europe wearing the same grey Chairman Juncker Euro suits. No, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that there is only one thing that can fix it, and that is Nexit, Frexit, Swexit and Dexit. This British lion has roared, Mr. Juncker, and you have been ill-advised to ignore it. Because to the people of my generation, it is unthinkable that Great Britain would ever bow its head or bend its knee to any other nation, least of all Germany. I'll finish here. We cannot tolerate any further deficit to our democracy, because there is no price too high to pay for one's liberty.